Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for another devotional. Now today, if you are watching online through video, you're going to see I'm holding something kind of special in my hand. What you see here is an all-in scripture wallet. This is a leather rawhide wallet, and inside of it, you're going to find those 14 all-in verses for men that we did a few weeks back together, if you remember that. What I've done is I printed them on scripture cards that have the scripture on the front side, and then on the back side is a QR code that links to that same devotional. All this fits beautifully into this nice little leather wallet, and by the way, it pairs beautifully with this all-in leather journal. So this right here is a great Father's Day gift, by the way. Giving the Bible to men that they can read and memorize scriptures that will change their life, along with a digital copy of the devotional so they can get to it time and time again, paired with a journal, just kind of story out what God is speaking to them. And if you even want to make it better, you can throw in an all-in hat as well. So I hope I did a good sell job for you there for Father's Day. So give that to the man that you appreciate and love and want to see grow in his relationship with God. Today we're going to be in John chapter 11. I'm going to read the first 4 verses, and kind of chapter 4 is this kind of cool story that kind of separates the beginning of John and the message of Jesus from the latter half of John, which is essentially the persecution of Jesus. So the message of Jesus and the persecution of Jesus separated by this single story. And it's one of the great miracles of all time. It is the raising of Lazarus from the dead. So here are the first 4 verses. It reads, "Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha." So Lazarus, Mary, and Martha are sibling. They're a sibling family that Jesus is really good friends with. "It was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother's Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent to him, saying, 'Lord, he whom you love is ill.' But when Jesus heard it, he said, 'This illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it.'" Now, most of us kind of know the story that we're about to read together. Obviously, it's a story of Lazarus being raised from the dead. With this in mind, though, these first few verses set the stage for us with this sharp contrast between how Jesus perceives situations versus how humanity perceives situations. So Jesus looks at things like illness and death and the challenges of this life differently than you or I do. This is because he's not distracted by distress and things like fear or future concerns. And he's not, because he's always very certain about what God's going to do. With this in mind, Mary and Martha come to Jesus or send a message to Jesus with this very, very urgent plea. They want Jesus to intervene immediately in the illness of their brother Lazarus. And they do this one thing right. They bring their concerns and needs to Jesus. But from here, they do a number of things wrong. We kind of discover, as we see through the continuation of the story, that they have trouble really believing the truth that Jesus sent to them. The message that this illness does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it, which is a promise he was delivering to them through a message. But they really didn't accept that message, maybe because the physical truth of Lazarus was more true to them than the spiritual truth that Jesus was speaking to them. Yet they had enough belief to believe that Jesus could actually heal him because they had seen him do it before, so they sent message to him. But it was kind of an incomplete belief. Here's why. This leads to the second thing that I think they did wrong. They believed, but they only believed healing was possible if Jesus worked in a certain way. If Jesus worked their way, they thought it was going to work out. But Jesus didn't work the way they expected, which exposed their incomplete belief. So here are some thoughts for you today, gentlemen. First, when you encounter a challenge in this life, the one to go to is Jesus. I just want you to know, it's always Jesus. There's no one else with answers like Jesus. Second, number 2, coming to Jesus means you need to start listening to what he says. And the way to do this is by finding key scriptures that will anchor your belief. like these ones that I'm suggesting you pick up from the store today, all right? These are fighter verses, all-in verses that you can preach to yourself when physical and emotional experiences seem more real than his truth. They sound like the one in the verse here. This illness, Jesus says, does not lead to death. It is for the glory of God so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. That's a fighter verse right there, right? Three, you got to stop expecting Jesus to work things out your way. Because guess what? Sometimes Jesus will do exactly what you expect, and then you will link your expectations and actions to how he works. But Jesus isn't subject to your expectations and desires. He is God, we are not, and sometimes he provides the way you expect, and sometimes he provides in a different way, which we're going to see in the story. And we have to be okay with that from the beginning to the end of our life. And lastly, when he does respond, you need to give him glory, because that's the thing that he did. He did it for his glory and not yours. So you got to learn to give glory to him. I hope these things help you today as maybe you're fighting your way through a challenge that you're experiencing in life, maybe through anxiety and these moments of uncertainty. Just bring it to Jesus and then anticipate with great certainty what he's going to do. I love you guys. I pray this has blessed you. Remember, we got these verse wallets on the website, and I'll see you right back here again.